Well, hi everyone. Well, it's been a while since we last seen a new YouTube video, at least for tarantulas anyway. So, as you can see, I have some stuff written on my board, and you probably guessed what the title is of this video. A new Mythbuster video, and this time I'm going to be explaining what I know about the Vitalius species. This is another one of those uncommon genus that you see in the hobby. But, rest assured, it's still a tarantula, so let's get started. But before I do that, I want to add on stuff that I forgot to mention in the previous Mythbuster video after I did some more research about my camel spider. Well, I decided to get rid of the PCV pipe because I didn't think that she was very happy with it. So what I did is I just took a cork bark and just dig a little hole, and for some odd reason my camel spider likes to hide there. So I think now it's more happy. Now to explain this very sluggish and lethargic behavior, from what I understand that Tarantula Canada told me, is they're witnessing that with their specimen, is that they do hibernate during the winter months. So that explains why it's been very slow moving and not eating as well. And again, this could be theory, but I can't really back this up because it's the first time owning a camel spider. But it's doing very well in my care for the time being. Oh, this is heavy. But anyways, since that's out of my way now, I can start off the new one. And I'll be explaining on my specimen the Vitalius saurocubi, also known as the giant stripe-legged bird eater. But first, let's give a synopsis of what this tarantula genus offers. Well, it was discovered by Leteo in Brazil in the year 1923. So Vitalius species are pretty similar to the Pamphobeteus genus, so much of what I'm going to say here is going to relate back to the Mythbuster video 18 where I touched up on the Pamphobeteus. So a lot of information is going to be very similar to it. Okay, so these are the ones that are currently in the hobby. I know there's some more that I did not mention here because I just can't find information on them. So this is what I can dig up from multiple sites like Arachnoboards and a few online dealers. So we have Vitalius saurocubi. They generally run between $15 to $50. $50 would be the adult. I remembered when I paid my specimen Vita, she was $50. As you know, it's called the Brazilian stripe leg. And the way we pronounce Vitalius saurocubi, we pronounce it like this: Vitalius saurocubi. This is another one that's more popular in Europe. This is called V. roseus. Generally go for around $30 to $150. That would be like a ½ to 1 inch sling. Also known as the giant pink starburst and roseus. Here's another one that's we commonly see in the hobby. It's called Vitalius platyama. Same thing as Pamphobeteus platyama. A lot of hobbyists try to identify them as Vitalius species because they have very similar features to the dubious and the saurocubi. But personally, I think it's more of a Pamphobeteus species because of the starburst patterns on it. And they generally run for between $35 to $200. I used to have 2 of them, mature male that died due to old age, and I had a mature female that I got from Justin a couple of years ago, and she was really old too. Okay, then we have this one here. This is called the Argentine striped knee. It's between $35 to $130. You can get them at kenthebuckeye.com. And this is what we call it, Vitalius paranaensis. That's what it sounds like. Then Vitulunus, between $35 to $130. It's called the Amazon striped knee. Velutinus. V. dubius. It's about $100 for a 4-inch female on Ken's site. Don't know what the common name is. but it's pronounced dubious. Now, this appears on Arachnophiliac site, one of our main dealers in Canada. This is really Nandu chromatus. The way he sees it is that it doesn't really look like a Nandu, especially with the hairs. They generally cost between 20 to 150, and we call it Vitalius cristatus, but I considered it to be a Nandu chromatus since pretty much everyone understands that tarantula to be that. And there's also another one called the Viwaketi, and it's called the Sao Paulo brown bird eater, between 35 to 150, give or take. This is what I can assume the prices are. So the Vitalius species are a New World terrestrial, and they generally come from South America, particularly in regions of Brazil and Argentina, with in that case of the Parananiensis. So let's have a look at my specimen and see what they look like. Well, actually, I'll show you some pictures on arachnoboards for the Vitalius species. My computer takes a while to load. Okay. So here is Fartowski. Okay, better. So this is another shot of the Paranensis. I think these are all Parasinensis. Okay, so this is Christa's. This is her Velutinus juvenile. This is Wicked Inverts V. dubius. You can see why it's called Histretini. This is the Amazon one. That looks really cool. This is a Velutinus sling. You see on page 2. Velutinus, very similar to the Saurochaebi. Okay, another Velutinus. Another Paraniensis. This one here is a Longisternalis. Parasinensis, ultimate male, well, mature male. As you can see, bulbous pedipalps, and they have the hooks, just like most mature males do. This one here, it's unidentified. Looks nice after a molt. Another Paraniensis. Yeah, Paranensis seems to be the more popular one. Let's see if I can try to find a Waketi for you guys. This one here is a Roseus. Dubious. There, another Roseus. Saurochaebi. Same one. Another Dubious. That's what a freshly molted specimen looks like. Very nice. Saurochaebi. I don't know. Yeah, so Waketi. Yeah, they see, this is sometimes I don't trust Google because that exactly looks like Platyama, but they're not the same species. They're not related. Alright, whatever. Okay, so let's go have a look at my specimen and see what this one looks like. This is my specimen. Her name is Vita, which means life in Italian. Perfect name for her because she is full of life. And she is one of the tarantulas that I wanted to get. Okay, let me go get my paintbrush. There we go. And have a look at my specimen see what it looks like, and then I'll tell you all about the care sheet and everything. Where can you find these lovely teas? Well, unfortunately you won't be able to find them at a pet store because these are pretty rare to see. Therefore, your only option is to get them online. So if you're in Canada like I am, I recommend places like arachnophiliats.com or tarantulacanada.ca. Currently, Tarantula Canada doesn't have any of those species yet. I did see some on Bruce Carr's site, Arachnophiliacs. If you're in the UK, the virginiacheeseman.co.uk, the spidershop.co.uk. If you're in Europe, Michael Scheller. And if you're in the US, either netbug.net, kenthebuyguy.com, or swiftsinverts.com. They seem to have these species. So, now I'll talk about the sizes. Well, they really tend to vary between the sizes. Most Vitalius species get it to around 6 to 8 inches in leg span. I think the biggest one, well, if you would count Pamphobeteus platyama as a true Vitalius species, it would have been the largest. I used to have Sophie, who was a 9-inch female. She was huge. But I would think Dubious would be the second the largest at 7 to 8 inches. The V. Saurocebi and the V. roseus happen to be the smaller members of the two. I'll get around to having a 5-inch leg span. So Vita, who is my lovely female here, she's around 5 inches and fully grown. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about enclosure setups and what you need to house a Vitalius species. Well, if you're buying a sling, I recommend buying or housing them in pill jars. So this is an example of what I use to house my slings. This is a pill jar that I can get from your local pharmacy. All I did was add substrate. You can either use inorganic potting soil, like you see my adult has, or you can just get Eco Earth. This is the one that comes in a brick. And just make sure you have some ample substrate in there because they do burrow, such as this one here. So this one here is a Sphaerobophria hoffmanni, which is known as the Central American horned. One of the only rare horned species available in South America. Most of the horns we know are in the Ceratojaurus genus. Now, if you're going to get a juvenile, like about 1.5 inches to about 3 inches, or I recommend housing them in 16-ounce deli containers, as you see here. All you have to do is just make air holes around the circumference of the deli container, and maybe add some holes on the top. And my Pamphobeteus, no, Formictopus auratus seems to do well in this enclosure. Next time she molts, she's going to be needing a rehouse. Or for an adult, since they don't get very big, like around 6 to 8 inches depending, for at least for a Saurocebi anyway, you don't really need much. A standard sized critter keeper will do well for one. As you see, my camel spider is doing well in it and she loves it. You can either go to get 6-liter shoebox enclosures. I'll show you a typical terrestrial setup. So this is my B. gigas scorpion. Let's give an update on this one. There it is, it's doing well. Coconut fiber with a water dish and a little hide. And for my personal specimen, all this enclosure really is a empty salad container that you can get from your grocery store. It's the perfect size for it. All I had to do, see, it's about the same size as a shoebox enclosure. All I had to do here is just make some air holes on the perimeter of the container, and that's about it. I added a water dish and will okay for her to hide in. I only offer water dishes to teas around 3 inches, because if you give a water dish when it's too small, it might drown in there, so that's not a good thing. So like this example here, I probably would give her a water dish the next time it would molt, like around 3 inches. She's around 2.5. And for larger specimens like your V. dubius or your V. wicketi, I recommend housing them in the larger containers, or you can just use a 5-gallon tank or a 9-liter shoebox enclosure. Like you see right here, this is a 9-liter, and it'll be good for your 6 to 8 inch teas. Okay, so now for about temperature and humidity. Well, temperatures, they thrive well in my room. I typically keep them around 78 degrees in the nighttime and around 82 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. Between 75 to 80 is just perfect for them. They do well in it. Humidity, you might want to keep them a little bit more humid than most, just like your Pamphobeteus. Around 80% does seem to do well for the species. So you can get 80% by keeping a water dish and making sure that you have some moist substrate. What I do to water my tarantulas, I just like to soak the substrate in water and making sure that the bottom layers get a little moist, but I don't really overfill it because that's not good for it. Especially if it's too wet, some tarantulas are not going to like it, and you can contract mold. And mold is bad for teas. Next topic is about temperament. Well, it really depends on your individual specimens. Some of them are much more defensive than others. I know from looking at the tarantula.co.za site that the V. dubius can be very defensive. But for my Vitalius Surocabi, they're completely opposite. I'll just prod my female to show you. Yeah. She's very calm. She doesn't have a care in the world. See, and I could actually... Whoop. I didn't expect that. A little bit skittish, but not overly very defensive. They do kick hairs. They do have eradicating hairs, but I rarely see mine kick. So for handleability, I don't really recommend them because they can be very moody, just like your Grammostola rosea. And you really don't want to take chances. These are venomous, but they're not very medically significant like your pokies. Pretty much, if you get bitten by the species, it'll probably feel like a little bit worse than a bee sting. But it's not overly that bad. I haven't been bitten by any of my tarantulas, so I really can't tell you from experience how a bite feels like. Now for breeding the Vitalius species. Well, for personal experience, I really don't have any information about that. But from what I understand, they are very similar to the Pamphobeteus. They are generally well behaved towards mating, although you do want to supervise them, like as always. The male and the female don't really show aggression, but again, individuals do vary. And about the egg sac, generally around 80 to 180 is pretty much on the ballpark. Could be a little more, could be a little less. So for recommendations, I definitely recommend it to someone who loves tarantulas. Maybe not the first one. Like, it wouldn't make a good beginner species, but for someone who wants to try a little step up from a rose hair or a bee smithy, I definitely recommend it. So it's a very nice species. I'm very glad that I got her. Awesome. So that's all I have for now for the Vitalius species. I hope you enjoy it. And let me know what Mythbuster video you want me to do it on. I'm thinking that I will go over the Oligosteri diamentinensis. Where is that one? right over here. Oh yeah. Which is known as the Brazilian dwarf blue beauty, because Killbox Spiders just got 2 of them. And this is my specimen. I actually handled this one. When I was watering my teas on Tuesday, it actually went on my hand. Not aggressive at all, but holy cow, is it flipping fast. But it's a very, very awesome looking species. Very beautiful. This one here is a subadult female. Kind of look like a mini GBB. Anyway. So that will be the next topic of the Mythbuster video. Probably I'm going to be airing it sometime on Friday, perhaps. Anyway, before I let you go, I got some updates. Now, I just got a gift certificate from one of my fans named Alex, and I'm going to actually be purchasing a new tarantula on Tuesday. It's going to be a 2.5-inch unsexed specimen, and it's going to be one of my favorite tarantulas, Acanthoscurria suina. Remember, you probably saw it during the expo video. I wanted one, but I didn't have the money. Now that I do have some cash, I'm going to actually buy one for myself and give you some more information about it. Be different than just to own a Brocklehursti and a geniculata, you know. Alright everyone, so I do hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.